Let's get on to the next topic, where we talk about NFTs. Now, obviously, in 2021, they exploded. 2022, meh. Now at the end, I think in September, I saw this stat. In September, so OpenSea was one of the main trading platforms for NFT, and in September, it was down nearly 99% from when it had been trading on May 1st. So it was this big hype. Obviously, some people have made lots of money from it. Some people have now lost a lot of money from it. And now it seems to be, well, my question really, actually, to both of you, but I'm going to ask this to Erin, directed to Erin first, because not only is Erin a psychologist, not only is she really up on this digital stuff, she's also a creative. She's also an artist. She is a recording musician, and who I go to for my creative advice. So whenever we talk about creative things, she's the person that I'm talking to. Erin, NFTs, are they all hype, or were we just too early?
It's an amazing question. I have to say it's both. And here's my reasoning. Why was it hype? Part of the reason why it was hype was because what they actually sold themselves to be, or what the narrative of NFTs were, was not in fact what they were.
Yep.
Sorry, someone ringing my doorbell. Can you guys hear?
It's okay.
It's going to get louder as well.
We all have visitors.
So basically, NFTs, a lot of them were these digital artworks that were secured on the blockchain, we'll put it that way. So you may have had a digital file of some description. It may have been audio or visual. And then there was a corresponding blockchain transaction that would prove your ownership of this digital artwork, right? And so it was supposed to have similar value to like the collectible space, whether that was rare art or coins or Pokemon cards or whatever. It was supposed to be the digital version of that. Now, one of the main problems I saw early on was that there was no actual connection between the digital file and this blockchain transaction, right? So, there was all this like hullabaloo around, it's an immutable transaction. It's on the blockchain. No one can ever take this ownership from you. You can prove your ownership. But the problem was that a lot of these digital files were stored on these centralized servers. So if one of these servers went down, then your JPEG file or your MP3 file is just gone, right? And so there wasn't really a there, like particularly early on, like the blockchain thing, it's almost like it was just sort of duct taped onto it to kind of create a hype narrative.
Yeah.
And so that was a big part of the reason why I saw it as a lot of hype.
Is that because it wasn't actually that, or it could have been, but because everyone was trying to rush to market, they weren't doing it properly?
No, there just wasn't a way to do it because the storage of some of these files, like the blockchain actually can't handle it. Like blockchains are really quite, like if you think about what they are, they're very slow databases effectively, right? And they're really useful for very specific circumstances, and that's when you're trying to prove transactions in a public way that other people can verify. And it solves something called the double spend problem, which has sort of been a problem that has faced the sort of cryptographic space for a very long time. Anyway, that's sort of beside the point. But it's very difficult to store any large file on the blockchain, like on Ethereum, which just costs way too much money. There are blockchains now that it could become possible in the future. They may already exist, but certainly the Ethereum craze was like it was just a bit like, what's going on here? Why is there such a dislocation between what's being said and what's actually happening? And then, people lost NFTs because servers went down, and so they've spent all this money and then they can't even access the file anymore. And so there was a lot of...
There was someone that had created a movie or a TV series with their Bored Ape or something, or one of those or whatever, and they lost it somehow. Someone stole it or something. And now, even though they have the receipt of them, that's what I don't understand about it, because they bought it, they've got the receipt of it, but something happened that they don't actually have the token or something like that, that now the IP doesn't belong. They can't run this TV show or this movie because they actually don't own the rights to it because they don't have it in their possession.
This is the other big point around it is there, when you purchase an NFT, you don't purchase the intellectual property. You're basically just purchasing a blockchain transaction, right? So as a purchaser, you have far fewer rights than somebody who perhaps goes and purchases the rights to a certain song or a certain artwork or a certain video file that you want to then use in some other creative exploit or as part of your marketing or whatever. You can't do that with an NFT because you haven't purchased the intellectual property. It stays with the artist. So all you have is the blockchain transaction, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So there's sort of a logical error going on in what they are. But so there's some of the negatives on the other side of things. I think if some of these problems can be solved, I do see them as being very liberating for artists. I do think there's going to be a lot of social capital involved with being able to display these NFTs on social media and this and that. And I think it'll be a new means for artists to create an income and create relationships with their fans. But there's certain sort of technological limitations that I think mean that both we are too early and it was all hype.
What do you think we could learn as leaders from this situation with NFTs that have just gone? I suppose for me, it comes down to talking about how do we avoid chasing fads? Because there was a lot of businesses that kind of shifted to this NFT thing because it was the thing. Now it's down 99% in a matter of 5 months or whatever that is, a rough calculation. How do we stay up with the trends without avoiding being caught up in the hype?
To me, I think a lot of it actually comes back to what Dr. Rod was talking about earlier when it comes to risk management. I think if you're entering a new space, you have to be aware that it will be somewhat, like I was saying earlier, it will be somewhat difficult to discern between what's something that's valuable, what's something that's like a disruptive technology, what's a scam, what's a fad. We may not know entirely in the very beginning. And so I think it's about recognizing that anything that you invest in an emerging space very early on is money that you can very easily lose in an instant. It's also about recognizing that a space like that's going to be incredibly volatile. So a lot of this sort of diligence that I think Dr. Rod was talking about earlier is also around your own self-regulation and understanding that a lot of these market cycles are going to be driven by fear or greed. And if you fall captive to either of those emotions, you're unlikely to actually do well. So I think it's about recognizing the risks, understanding that you're going to need to be very patient early on, understanding that there's going to be a lot of volatility, which is going to mean that you're going to be experiencing a lot of fear and greed, and really understanding that this is a long-term, it's almost as if it's a long-term gamble. I don't want to use that word, that it's gambling, but there are some aspects of this where you want to involve yourself, but you also want to understand that it could go away tomorrow.
Yeah, that's good. Dr. Rod, what's your take on this NFT space? Do you own NFTs, Dr. Rod?
No, I didn't, because I didn't know anything about them until I did some research for this particular video. So I'm sitting here learning a lot from Erin. But look, the principles that she's espoused, I agree with 100%. And look, it's no different to any other emerging market And look, people have lost their shirts on gold stocks on the share market, on so many other things, projects, housing markets. Look, the point is this: if what's in your heart is to make a substantial monetary gain for little or no effort, then you shouldn't have anything to do with it, because it's unbiblical, right? Yeah. Then if you're looking to make a substantial gain over a short period of time, that's either gambling or highly speculative. If you're looking at, say, and this is an important principle in investment, if you're looking at dribbling funds in slowly over a long period of time, regardless of where the cycle happens to be, then I think you are a genuine investor. You talk to financial analysts, financial planners, and they'll give you this advice. It doesn't make any difference what the market is. Real estate's a little bit different because it is so lumpy, and you're going to be investing perhaps $500,000 at a time. In the larger cities, it'd be 2 or 3 times that. But say in the stock market, in futures market, in digital markets of various kinds, a genuine investor basically dribbles funds into these markets over a long period of time, regardless of the cycle. And that's something that I think is general advice that people should take pretty seriously.
So, Erin, what should we, from a creative standpoint, what should we be looking out for in the NFT space? What do you predict? No, I'm trying to avoid the word predict, because I don't like, not to predict. What would you wish could happen? I'm sure there's some leaders that are creatives, that are singers, that are artists, that are like whatever, musicians, or you're some form of a creative. What could they look out for in the NFT space?
Yeah, like it's a tough one because like I said, there's this like technological issue as it stands. I think that there will be different use cases, and they're already emerging, and NFTs aren't just used by creatives as well. So we have NFTs, so non-fungible tokens, being used to implement particular smart contracts for certain use cases, like buying properties internationally. And there are certain ways that they can be used within other regulatory and legal frameworks, and they actually are an innovation in those cases. For a creative, I think that NFTs might be more about access and building communities, and being able to, find different ways to monetize or organize or structure online programs, or something that I'm beginning to see that is quite interesting is using NFTs as tickets. So when you get to an event, you scan your NFT, and then that unlocks certain perks and certain rewards for the fan. So there's things like that where I think there's going to be other use cases. I think it's going to help with branding and marketing, and perhaps incentivizing your community to engage with you in new ways. So I can see it being like helpful in those situations, again, sort of facilitating you to be able to do some work, to provide some value, and just do it in a new way and organize it in a new way.
Yeah, it's really good. I was going to actually jump on that because I was going to say, Erin, it sounds like you're just talking about finding different ways to provide value for people, and I think that's the key of it. It like kind of sums up our, the whole crypto conversation is about creating value for people. It's about are we investing in something to create value or just to get rich quick? Are we producing something because we want to add value, or are we just trying to get rich? So NFTs, all hype, too early. I suspect both, as Erin said. I suspect it's a little bit of both. There was a lot of hype around it, but I suspect that it, like all these things, I think that they need to kind of get this grand exposure at the start to be able to get some momentum around them. And then who knows where they're going to end up. Because people have invested so much into it already, people have to make it work. So we'll be seeing more of it, but who knows? Like Erin said, people are using NFTs to buy property as a way to sign contracts or whatever, to approve contracts. So who knows where that's going to go. Hey, you've just watched an excerpt from the On the Cube Leadership podcast. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If it challenged your leadership or inspired you in some way, put a comment below. And if you want to watch the full episode or more content like this, check out our channel. And hey, consider subscribing while you're there.